What if you and your dad were traveling through a forest reserve when you accidentally run over a mythological creature that should be a legend, in this case a unicorn?
What?
To avoid grabbing soaps at prison, your dad does not kindly end the creature's suffering. It's just a matter of time until the dead unicorn relatives start to take revenge on anyone who gets in their way. What would you do in this situation? This is the story of Death of a Unicorn, a movie released in 2025 in which I will recap the plot, condemn all the dumb ideas put in place by these characters, and show ways to defeat these unicorns, or at least survive them. Before we start, subscribe to the channel to follow the next horror releases here and kick back the like button. The film begins on a plane where we meet the father named Elliot and Ridley, his dynamic teenager daughter, who really needs to apply some skincare shit on her face since the pimples are not taking easy. Some time ago, Ridley's mother left for the afterlife, which greatly shook the girl's relationship with her Ant-Man father. To fill the void, Elliot has been working more than ever as he thinks money will fix his relationship with Ridley. However, she just wants her father's affection. Even so, Ant-Man is almost getting that long-awaited promotion, in this case becoming a member of the board of directors of a large multinational pharmaceutical company. The only thing that stands between him and winning the American Express Platinum card is the weekend, as he and his daughter were invited by the company owner to stay with them for a few days, and thus prove that Elliot is the right guy for the new position. The two then rent a car and hit the road, but Elliot has a serious rhinitis problem, a devilish disease that has affected me every day until a year ago. Thank you God and Dr. Andrea for the treatment that freed me from this. Anyway, as the flight was delayed, Elliot's boss keeps calling him frantically. However, something is causing interference in communications, and Elliot can't give him an explanation. To make things worse, rhinitis hits. Elliot gets distracted and ends up running over a beautiful white horse with a horn.
Oh my god!
As Ridley and Elliot approach the animal, they realize that it is a mythological creature, nothing less than a unicorn. I mean, it was a unicorn. Since this one will certainly not return for the second film, Ridley is sorry for the creature's suffering, and for no reason she decides to hold its horn that is glowing a yellowish light. By doing so, Ridley's consciousness is transported to a frenetic dimension, worthy of any rave or Doctor Strange acid trip. When she is approaching a luminous center, Ridley's consciousness abruptly returns to the real world, since Elliot is kicking the shit out of the unicorn, which ends with its passage to the afterlife. Ridley gets mad at her father, but Elliot doesn't care much about the mythological discovery, since his fear is being caught by the police. Given this, Elliot makes the first mistake in this film as he puts the unicorn's body inside the car and drives to the boss's mansion. I say this is a mistake because it doesn't make sense to take a dead animal to a work meeting, which will make Elliot lose a lot of credit with the boss. As the creature had already walked towards the light, Elliot could have simply dragged the animal into the forest. That way his carcass wouldn't cause accidents on the road, and at the same time, it would still serve as food for other animals. But forget that, as Ant-Man is not the brightest guy around here.
It's awesome.
There's an idiot in the landing zone.
Upon arriving at the boss's house, we meet the CEO named Odell, who happens to have terminal cancer and therefore only has a few months to live. Odell is married to Belinda, and together they have a son named Shepard, who is played by Will Poulter, a man who has proven that all ugly men can one day become handsome. Anyway, Elliot soon hurries to apologize for the delay and lick the boss's eggs. He also begins to read the contracts to take on the new position on the board, but Odell says that Elliot still needs to be approved by his wife and son, which is exactly why he was invited to spend the weekend at the mansion. Despite this, Shepard is more interested in Ridley's looks and unashamed says that she is not as cute as he imagined, and even tells the girl to wash her face, which is dirty with unicorn purple blood. She does this, and as soon as she removes the liquid, she realizes that the creature's blood has regenerative powers and works much better than an exfoliant, since the pimples disappear from her face. Who also realizes this is Elliot, who upon reading the contract, realizes that the unicorn blood has also cured his hyperopia problem as his glasses are no longer necessary. To their incredible surprise, the unicorn is still alive and apparently doesn't like cars very much as the creature fights to get out of the vehicle. This draws the attention of the billionaire's head security lady, who gets ahead and gives the unicorn a fatal headshot. Odell doesn't like the fact that Elliot hid the truth about the hit and run, but when the employee comments about the unicorn's blood having cured both the hyperopia and rhinitis that hit him earlier, Odell soon changes his mind and thanks Elliot for taking the unicorn for a ride. He and his wife agree that they can use the unicorn's body to manufacture a medicine that will obviously save millions of lives, including Odell's own. Just kidding. They just care about the money.
Hello, I like money.
Who doesn't like this is Ridley, who basically believes that the animal should be taken to animal non-governmental organizations. Screw it, because Elliot obviously sucks up to the boss a little more and agrees with Odell's plan. Ridley then goes to cry in the bedroom, where she sees some photos of his mother on a family trip at the museum. When she looks in the background of the picture, she ends up seeing a unicorn decoration. This makes the girl Google the creature's lore, as she discovers a kind of prophecy. Whoever is kind to the unicorn will also have the respect of the creature, but whoever isn't will face its wrath, which is a euphemism to be killed in the worst possible ways. She tries to warn her father, but Elliot once again ignores his daughter, thinking about the promotion that is knocking on the door. He and Ridley are called in to do some tests, and scientists Song and Bhatia confirm that the unicorn's healing powers probably come from his horn, and comment that the pointy organ is still alive and emitting a type of radiation. Odell then quickly proceeds to receive some of the mythological serum as the scientists extract a purple juice from the horn and put it in the billionaire's veins. It doesn't even take 2 hours for the old man to be cured of cancer, which gets he and the family calling all the sick rich people to sell them the stuff, who obviously will pay a truckload of money for it. That's when Wednesday arrives in the room and says that what they are doing is unethical, since if unicorns are real, it means that the legends that surround them are too. Therefore, everyone who harms the creature or takes advantage of it will be screwed. Once again, Ridley tries to convince her father to leave that place, but when he receives an offer to become Odell's partner, he obviously can't refuse and accepts to sell the cure to the wealthy leechs.
You hate them compared to how much I like
Shut
them.
up, you're so annoying!
The greedy family then asks the scientists to pack the unicorn for the trip, as they want to further explore its regenerative properties in the company's laboratory. That's when something strange happens, as the noises of the magical horses are heard from the forest, and suddenly the property's power goes off, which leaves the scientists in complete darkness. Out of nowhere, Dr. Singh discovers that he will no longer sing in life, as another unicorn, larger than the first, appears and crosses the scientist with its horn. In the meantime, we see Ridley crying in the car when she realizes that she's also in the creature's blacklist, forcing her to hide under the car. One of the security guards tries to shoot the unicorn to the afterlife, but it doesn't even trembles as the creature not kindly steps on the man's head, which easily crushes it like a chicken's egg. I can't understand something in this scene. Why are the mercenaries shooting at a super fast terrestrial creature on the ground floor, which happens to be the worst place to do it? In this case, I would try to climb to a high place like the roof, where the unicorn could not catch me. That way I'd be protected with cover, and this would allow me to unload all the ammo on its back, but forget about it. Finally, Ant-Man decides to play father's role and distracts the beast by surrounding the car, giving Ridley time to run and lock herself in the garden area. When we think she's going to turn into mincemeat, the unicorn calms down as if to recognize that Ridley's intentions are not evil. The creature then begins to glow its horn and allows her to touch it. This doesn't happen because the 2 musketeers hired by the family shot the damn unicorn, which returns to the forest injured. For no reason, the greedy family thinks it's time for dinner, which makes Ridley take the opportunity to reveal that she connected to the unicorn after she touched the crazy puppy's horn. Her idea is to return the animal's body to the forest, hoping to appease the situation. I honestly think this will be extremely difficult, as Odell is already enjoying some unicorn ribs. Odell has another idea, in this case to go into the forest to hunt the unicorn's father and thus get more unicorn blood. You think that Elliot would be on his daughter's side, which even happens in the first 2 minutes, but when he finds out that he will earn the royalties from this discovery, he shakes hands with Odell and prepares to go hunt with him. To track the creature, Dr. Bhatia delivers a radiation detector to the head of security, which can locate the unicorn's blood on the forest floor. Elliot, Odell, and the last 2 security guards enter the woods, while Shepard takes advantage of the crowd's distraction to run his hand over a small amount of horn powder, which he puts to good use in favor of science. The feeling is so damn strong that Shepard forces Bhatia to completely immediately saw the creature's horn at once to produce more mind-blowing unicorn crystal. At this very moment, Ridley has an epiphany as she understands all the legend that surrounded unicorns. According to books from the Middle Ages, these creatures are immortal and even wounded end up regenerating. It's just a matter of time until the same thing happens to the captured cub and its mom. The girl then sends a message to her father telling him to run as fast as possible, which will really be necessary since a third unicorn with a sinister tyrannosaur vibe snaps up the head of security and runs over the last mercenary still standing. In this case, I would try to climb one of those trees next to Ant-Man. I would only come down the next morning when I had visibility of the forest. What I wouldn't do in this situation is staying on the floor in the dark, as that's exactly what Elliot is doing now. Screw it, because he prefers the stupid plan and runs away. For script convenience, he arrives at the mansion in less than 5 seconds just to fall in front of one of the creatures, which just stares at him and decides to eat Ant-Man now or later. Luckily for the guy, the unicorn father and mother are more interested in Odell, who tries to dialogue with the creatures. One of the unicorns even shines the horn, suggesting that he will allow the billionaire to connect with him. However, it was just a lie, as the animal crosses Mr. Greed's head mercilessly, finishing him. The survivors run into the house, and it's up to the hilarious butler to excuse himself from the unicorns to let him barricade the door with the furniture.
Excuse me, pardon me, thank you.
What?
Elliot grabs his phone and calls the police, but unicorns are so connected to the lifestyle of humans, and their mere presence somehow cancels out the electrical energy as if they could emit an electromagnetic pulse. As phone reception in the region was garbage, the wealthy family had installed a type of signal extender, which unfortunately worked through electricity, which means that now the survivors have no way to contact the outside world. At this point, the group could have hidden in a place too narrow for unicorns to enter. After that, one person could have used the rest of the group as a distraction and run to one of the cars. If this person managed to reach the road and gain distance from the beasts, it'd be possible to escape from the electromagnetic field that unicorns emit, allowing the phone reception to return, and that person would be able to call the cops. Screw it, because for the 15th time, Ridley suggests that they deliver the unicorn puppy to his parents, but Belinda refuses and thinks that if they do that, they will lose the upper hand over the situation. Where does this woman think she is? In an episode of Pawn Stars? The smartest thing to beat this movie is to gather as many weapons as they can, such as melee weapons and firearms. In addition to that, Dr. Batia already knew that the horn was the only thing that allowed the unicorns to regenerate. If the survivors were able to shoot and destroy the creature's horns, it would make them vulnerable and therefore mortal. Forget it, because Belinda and Shepard force the butler to open the gate manually due to a power outage, while Batia is sent to deliver the unicorn outside so the rich family has a chance to escape in one of the cars. The problem is that we find out that Batia had already saved a nest egg by stealing some unicorn blood samples, as she reveals to Elliot that she needs it to save the life of a member of her family who is very sick. She then leaves the baby unicorn in the garden. However, after noticing that its horn was sawn, the adult unicorns get quite angry and simply attack the scientist, separating her into two halves.
Nice.
At this time, the people could have used this distraction to get into the 5 cars they have in the garage and run away from there. But no, the stupid survivors stay to watch the show and then start screaming hysterically, which unfortunately attracts the beast's attention. Everyone runs back inside the house. While Ridley and Elliot cleverly go up the stairs, Belinda hides with Shepard on the ground floor office, where he goes back into exploring Unicorn Land through his pipe. Shepard then connects the dots and understands that the only way to stop the unicorns is through the legend that says that a pure-hearted girl has the power to tame the beasts, in this case Ridley. What I honestly don't understand is that the girl had already understood this after searching on Google, so she could have just gone out and negotiated with the unicorns, which would certainly save the lives of everyone there. Well, Shepard and his mother don't deserve it, but never mind. One of the unicorns goes up and starts knocking on the room where Elliot and Ridley are hiding, which makes the girl's father admit that on his wife's deathbed, he had promised that he would do anything to take care of Ridley. Since then, he's been using this excuse to work non-stop, thinking that money would make his daughter happy. However, now he understands that she only wanted his affection. He then reveals that he stole the baby unicorn's horn without Bhatia realizing it. Elliot then sends his daughter to flee through the window while he plays bullfighter with the beast, or in that case, tries to. In the meantime, Belinda tries to say how much she loves Shepard, but the unicorn dust is hitting hard in his brains, making the boy reveal that his genius plan is to capture the adult unicorns and make them breed non-stop, thus generating a stock of infinite unicorns. Before that, they must escape from the house first. While Belinda grabs an oxygen cylinder to use it as an explosive, Shepard arms himself with a bow, a cloth, and a lighter, which he intends to use to set the arrow on fire and shoot the beasts if they do not cooperate with his plan. You can be sure that the unicorns won't go down nicely as one of the beasts breaks the wall and pulls Belinda out. The woman begins to be devoured by the beast, while begging Shepard to shoot the arrow in the oxygen cylinder, which would make a nice unicorn barbecue. As Shepard is desperate to be on Forbes' cover as the youngest billionaire in history, he refuses to kill the unicorn and simply lets his mother become unicorn meal. If Shepard had taken advantage of this moment, he could have changed his fate drastically, but I honestly think that shitty people like to do shit. Finally, the morning comes and Wednesday prepares to flee the property when she is surrendered by Shepard, who uses her as bait to draw the two adult unicorns. Surprisingly, the beasts take the bait and we find out that the legend is true as the unicorns fall into a deep sleep when touched by Ridley. Shepard takes advantage of the moment to tie the beast's paws and promises a 50% deal to Elliot, who arrives at the party with the baby unicorn's horn. Finally, Elliot decides to man up as he loses his temper with Odell family and stabs Shepard with the horn. However, before falling, the little demon mortally wounds Elliot with an arrow. This leaves Ridley quite shocked, who rushes to comfort her father, saying that the vision she had when she grabbed the unicorn's horn revealed the origin of life, the place where humans and other animals came from and where they will return in the end. She says that the place is wonderful since no one needs to care about the bills, and also reveals that she felt her mother's presence there. Happy to find out that there is life after death, Elliot follows the light at the end of the tunnel. Meanwhile, we realize Shepard has made a deal with the devil since he refuses to die and even tries to get to the unicorn bloodstock to heal himself, which thank God won't happen as the unicorns wake up from the princess sleep and one of them kicks back the spoiled boy, who finally goes to hell. Anyway, the adult unicorns then decide to make easy for Ridley and drag Ant-Man close to the puppy. The creatures they join horns and make a ritual, which resurrects both the baby unicorn and Elliot, who is also graced with the same vision of the cosmos that Ridley witnessed at the beginning of the film. Father and daughter then hug, but the joy will not last long, as we find out that the butler had escaped from the mansion and called the police, who upon seeing Shepard's body, blamed the two survivors for the crime. The police officer who escorts them gets straight to the point by saying that they'll need a great lawyer since their story about unicorns will certainly not stick. Elliot is good with that since he's a lawyer himself and takes some time to enjoy being with Ridley. That's when we must watch a very unnecessary ending scene where the unicorn family ride alongside the police car, which should be enough to confirm Ridley and Elliot's story, but forget it as these wild magical horses are nuts and practically tell father and daughter to fasten their seatbelts. The unicorns then make the vehicle overturn to release the criminals. Why? Death of a Unicorn was smashed by critics, but the public seemed to have liked it a lot. I liked the movie. It's not great at all, but I managed to have a lot of fun with it. The production gets it right in the dialogues, which are loaded with humor. Allied to this, all the actors do a competent job, especially Jenna Ortega and Will Poulter, who always act well. The film also manages to balance comedy and horror, as the gore scenes are very expository here. In the third act, I got the impression that they tried to emulate the ending of the first Jurassic Park film. Leave it in the comments if you agree. On the other hand, the feature has some problems with CGI, especially in daytime scenes. Another issue is that the script goes overboard in some moments, such as the end and in the first act, which could have been briefer. Even so, if you feel like having a few laughs, go watch this movie. I'll give Death of a Unicorn a 7 out of 10. At the box office, the film failed massively as it cost $15 million to make and only grossed $16 million, which was not even enough to pay taxes. In total, we had 8 kills and the golden medal goes to Eaton Belinda. Don't forget to like this video. I hope you liked it and see you on the next one.